you said something important. When you got out of the sort of cult / leftist organization, and I unknowingly have been in a couple of cults in my life. I believe that about myself too. You
We
don't
all
know
have.
until you're out. You don't know until you're out. But you did something that was seemingly mundane, but probably actually really important to your evolution. You got a job at some sort of medical facility, you said, right?
Yep.
So the thing that I think is so important about that is, don't you think, that it's the old every hammer sees everything as a nail. Like if you immerse yourself in sort of gender studies or, African-American history as your major in your life or whatever it is, everything starts to take on a certain worldview. And if you're spending all your time working on identity politics as an activist, you're just going to get immersed further and further. And I'll just give you one stupid example. But back when I was a practicing lawyer, I had this massive case. We represented Bridgestone Firestone, the tire company. And I had this several month trial, it was an antitrust trial involving retreaded tires. Not sexy. But I knew so much about tires and retreaded tires. And like the little tire shards that you see on the highway. And you're like, what's that? My God, how did that happen? Well, I started going down the highway. I was like, that's a retread. That one's going to come off. That's a retread. That's a Michelin. That's a Bridgestone. Right. I'm like, why the hell am I thinking about tires? So I need to extract myself from this world. And that's half the battle. You extracted yourself. You busied yourself. You had a job you had to do that required you to deal with real problems. And you didn't have all that time to think about this other stuff.
Right. And in that job, in the medical field, I was meeting so many people. My job was to go and do patient intake and just learn about their lives, learn about the problems that they were facing, their marriages, things like that. And I was meeting so many people of different backgrounds, which is something that I was not getting in my previous job. It was like an ideological fortress, essentially, where I was just meeting the same person with the same values over and over and over again with the same worldview. And at the time, every cross look was racism. Every man that was a little too confident was, patriarchal and a misogynist. And I stepped outside of that and started meeting all these people who were, Republican or classic liberals or centrist. I'm realizing, oh, well, all of these people are really good people and they're treating me very well. And the sort of conservative boogeyman that I created in my head died instantly in doing that work. And my entire worldview was able to be reformed.
And then there was a period, you referenced it a second ago, of sadness for what you'd been believing as a young biracial girl for so long about yourself, about your country, about your chances. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I grew up in a rural, conservative, very religious, white area in Florida. And because of the narrative that had been spun for me, I thought that everybody was truly out to get me. If I didn't advocate for myself at any given moment, that was the end of it for me. And when you view the world, like you said, through a certain worldview, everything can be negative. And although was very successful in this area. I was top of my class. I ended up graduating valedictorian. I got a good job at the age of 14 or 15, was doing really well. Even with all that going on, I could have been this super happy person, but instead I was just held down by this worldview that, I was succeeding despite the barriers set in place. And so many other people are not going to get that. And because of the perspective that I was raised with, I got robbed of just leading this fulfilling life where I could really walk confidently throughout the world. And I didn't have to worry about the way that people were looking at me and judging me. I would have been, I think, a much more confident young woman.
Oh, I'm thinking about Jason Riley, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, and he wrote the book, Please Stop Helping Us. He's in a biracial marriage, and they have 2 daughters, and they were going to this Tony private school. And he's talked about how the school kept trying to take these young, beautiful, brilliant girls and make them go to the affinity group and make them go to this thing and all these race-based programs. And the girls were like, I kick ass at math. Where's the math club? I want advanced math, and if I want to do something after school to school, that's what I want. Something that's going to challenge my brain and help me develop a useful skill. And they were like, you sure you don't want to come over here to, whatever the club was? It was driving Jason and his wife, Naomi, insane. And ultimately the daughters, they pulled them from that school, right? But it's like many, many people of color, biracial families. You don't have to be biracial to have had this same experience, this sort of light bulb moment of, I don't want my race to be the main thing about me.
Right. And they teach you that, this is going to be a problem unless people like you do something about it, which is the truly nefarious part of that, although probably unintentional. I thought that I couldn't go down another path, that I had to come and face this, or else, nothing was going to happen. And I even had the worldview that, it's not going to happen in my generation. So I'm going to sacrifice my time and my energy and all of my emotions to this so the future generations can benefit from the work that I'm doing now. And to have that worldview and just say, you know what, this is the box I'm going to place myself in, and this is the work that I have to do because this is the world that we live in, is such a negative thing. So when I hear about stories like Jason Riley's and the critical race theory that's now being taught in our public schools, I'm just viewing all of those little children as little me's. And the pathway for that sort of teaching is straight to activism. It's straight to throwing away your life to something that is not going to benefit you.
If you're like me, you're growing more and more concerned about the future. The market is all over the place, my God, this week. And inflation is at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates are skyrocketing. Market experts not only predict a recession, they say we're already in one, but they're using terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. If you want to protect your future, call a precious metals dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio. That's smart, with physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA or 401k. Have you been looking at those crown jewels this week with the Queen thinking, I wouldn't mind some of that gold? You can get it. You can get your own gold. And by the way, they keep this very simple for you. They've idiot-proofed the whole process. This is the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. And by the way, as an exclusive offer for my fans, if you call them right now, they're also going to give you up to $1,500 of free silver and a free safe on qualifying orders. Don't wait. Call them now. 866-518-2955. That's 866-518-2955, or text my name, Megyn, spelled Megyn, to 65532, okay? You call 866-518-2955 or text Megyn to 65532. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.